Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gianna. I'm a para-equestrian and I try my best to use my platform to the best of my ability. I'm introducing a new series on my channel today. Very exciting. My goal of this new series is to have other equestrians share their stories on my channel and hopefully inspire others to have a positive mindset and have the ability to say I can do anything. The reason why I wanted to start this series on my YouTube channel is because I've been public speaking since I was 12 years old about my disability, and I have come to discover that not only people who are affected with a disability or with autism, with physical abuse situations, they not only have a platform as well, but they have the ability to change their outlook on life and turn it into a positive thing. So I really wanted to search and discover what other equestrians had to say, and I am super excited to start this journey and to meet new equestrians and just have fun with it all during this time of COVID. I had the wonderful opportunity of interviewing Alexis Mann. She is a one-armed Western Reiner, and she is just super inspiring, super sweet, knows her platform, knows her audience, and I chose her as my first person to interview because I thought she had a very good mindset and had the opportunity of reaching out to a lot of people to spread positivity, and I am just so excited for this new journey on my channel, and I get to meet with new equestrians of all disciplines. Tell me your story. Tell me.
Okay, so I was born with one hand, as you can see. At 10 weeks, in my mom's pregnancy or whatever, I had two hands, and at 20, I did not. What happened is it's called Amniotic Band Syndrome. And what happens is the amniotic fluid in my mom's system, it wrapped around my right hand, essentially cutting off the circulation, thus the one hand. So that's kind of what happened, and so I was born with it. I've never known any different, so I can't say like I've had to adapt, which has actually been really thankful. I've met so many people that are like me, but they've had to adapt because of an accident or whatever, and I was actually really thankful I didn't have to go through that. I just was born with it, so it was kind of just who I am. And so my parents made sure when I was growing up that I never used it as an excuse, like ever. Like I was just like anybody else. And I think that really made me into the person that I am today. Because I'm not Alexis Mann, the one-handed girl per se. I'm more like Alexis Mann, the NRHA rider. I play basketball for my school, or I used to, and just I became a person so much more than just having one hand.
And same here, like I wasn't born with my disability, but I was young enough to not remember what it was like to have two hands. Or
Right, so you never really truly known any different.
how did you get into riding horses?
My parents always had horses. Well, not always, but they had them when I was born. They had a Tennessee Walker, two Tennessee Walkers, and then a baby Belgian that was kind of an accident kind of thing. And so I always grew around horses. I was on horses before I can talk, the whole cliche kind of thing. But and then we knew a couple people who had some horses, and they're like, oh, why don't you try like 4-H and stuff. And so I did leave line, and then I did fair, and then fair kind of I got into training, not training. I started getting lessons from a trainer, a local trainer, and that kind of just grew, and he introduced me to reining, and I did fair for a long time. Like I did English, I did speed, I did kind of everything at the fair. There wasn't really like one thing that I did. And then he introduced me to reining, and I was like, okay, this is it. We're good. If you aren't in 4-H and you're younger, I would definitely recommend doing it. It's a great local thing. It's basically it's kind of like county fairs and stuff where there's actually several different groups within your county 4-H, and you can join and you can show rabbits, you can show pigs, basically any animal that you can think of you can show, and it's really a great program for kids to get involved and who love animals and nature. And I would highly recommend, if you're, I think it's 18 or younger, I'm not sure, but I know it's youth, and there's so many scholarships that are also available through 4-H and everything. I highly recommend if you were not involved, if you aren't right now.
Was there a horse that you really connected with that got you into?
Yeah. So like my first ever horse, he was kind of more of a pony than a horse. He just hit that horse height. But his name was Squirt, and he looking back, I used to think, oh, he's such a jerk. But now I think about it, he took up with so much of my little kid crap.
Oh
But he really helped me like love the sport, love horses, and really, yeah, if I started out just like anybody, if they have a bad experience, whether it's a basketball or whatever, they normally just quit. Like, of course it's a bad experience, but Squirt really showed me that, hey, it's okay. It's just really fun to learn and stuff. And as I've grown older, I've gone through a lot of horses just through different training. And when I started getting to reining, I started getting more talented horses as I went. But Squirt, I guess, was my first horse. He really showed me that it's okay to love horses. And he started my love, which then led on to the various different horses that I've had.
I saw that you went through a few disciplines before you actually came across reining. So how did that work?
Yeah. So basically, like I said before, I was in fair, and fair also, as if many of you don't know, it's also affiliated with 4-H, but you can have any discipline you can imagine. They have all sorts of classes. They have English, they have speed, jumping, dressage. And so that's how really I started I wasn't going to like all around shows or anything, but at the fair I was introduced to a lot of different disciplines, and I respect many of those disciplines because when I did them at fair, I mean, it was no open show, but I still had to do it, and I was like, wow, this is kind of different. But so I guess that's where I kind of got introduced to all the different disciplines.
Yeah.
I loved, and I know that you do jumping, and I did jumping a little bit, and I liked it. If I didn't do reining and we had like $1 billion, I would love to do jumping.
I read on your blog that your high is reining. That speaks to me because my high is show jumping. Actually, when I was first getting into riding seriously, I didn't even know that horses had the capability of jumping. The first discipline that I've tried was like just hit me, and I have been hooked ever since. And imagine, I mean, I kind of feel what you're feeling about the reining. And I think one of the things that I really like about my vision with this platform new series is that it isn't just focused on jumping, it's focused on the individual. And I think that you have a story and I have a story, and there's people that don't even know they have stories that they could
But they
turn into
do.
an inspirational message. So walk me a little bit through how like judging works, or if there's even a thing as judging. I'm not really familiar with a lot of Western disciplines.
Yeah, no problem. So reining is, you have technically for each pattern, there's I believe there's 15 patterns now that include short stirrup and the regular patterns, but there a lot of times there's only one judge. Like if you go to like my local Michigan shows, for normal classes there's only one judge and one scribe. The judge judges each maneuver based on the degree of difficulty. Basically, you walk into the pen with a 70. That means you can either go up or you can go down from that. And let's just say you walk in and your first maneuver is a turnaround to the left. If you're very correct, they'll do a 0. It's very pretty, but it's not high degree of difficulty, but it was correct. Your horse's turn is correctly, it would be 0. If it was high degree of difficulty, they'll +1, they'll +1.5, they'll plus half. And if it was kind of not great, or the horse was just not cooperating, or the rider was just messed up, it would be -1. Same thing. You can go +1.5 or -1.5. That's how we judge. And And there's also penalties within that. Reining more complicated. It's pretty complicated for like people who are just beginning in the sport because there's so many penalties you can have. Like let's just say in a lead change your horse kicks out, that's a 5-point penalty deducted from your score. And then like let's just say you're turning around and there's a certain box you have to be in to stop in when you finish your turnaround, and if you're over or under that in that box, then they'll deduct you penalties on that. So it's kind of really complicated. I don't know if I would want to be a judge just because there's so much. The judges, the NRHA fraternity just ended yesterday, and they have a panel of 5 judges that judge that, and they take the high and the lowest score and they throw them out and they average the 3. And there's so much pressure. I don't think I'd want to do it. It's just because someone's always going to be mad at you or someone's always going to love you. It's just very hard. I'm not sure with how they do it in show jumping, but I imagine it's just as intricate and complex.
Yeah, well, one of the things about show jumping is I like it because it's the most factual. Like hunter riders judge on leads, and jumpers, you kind of it's my favorite thing in the world.
Over the past summer, I was training with Sean Flaherty at the time, and I rode actually his son's old horse, Alexis Mann, which was a phenomenal opportunity. That horse was so cool. And I went down to Memphis a few months ago and won a class down there. And riding him was a really amazing opportunity, and I'll never forget it. But right now, we just bought a new horse. Her name is Nifty at Night. Her name's Helen. But she's a 5-year-old mare out of Gunner Special Night, one of a very good sire, a good stud in the reining world. And she was trained at Tom and Mandy's McCutcheon's, which is also a big-time trainer in the reining world. And I got my hands on her about a month ago. We bought her. And show season's kind of ended right now, but we'll start back up in training in January. But she's just kind of chilling at home, but that's who I'm going to start riding in 2021.
Oh, that's amazing. Walk me through the first time you went horse shopping.
So when we bought Shiner, we really honestly didn't know what we were doing in reining. And it's just kind of, we saw videos. A trainer went out to Texas where he was located and looked at him and said, hey, I really think this is going to work. So we're like, okay, so we bought him. And with each horse, I think we've bought, Shiner, Chick, Helen. Okay, so technically we've only really bought 3 reining horses. Shiner was the first one, and then about 3 years later, we bought Chick. And Chick was, she was a chromed out Mercedes mare. She was super nice and stuff, and we got her. She came from Iowa, and we went out and we got her. We spent a lot of time looking for horses, but she really caught our eye, and we actually ended up working the deal where they actually got Shiner and we got Chick. So that worked out nice, and I had her until this June. We sold her. Sean said, hey, it's not working out as good as I want, so she went down the road. And then I rode Righteous Man, as I said, this summer. And then Chick, or Helen, we spent a lot of time. We spent months looking at horses and that were in our price range, because reining can be very, very expensive. But we looked at horses in our price range and just kind of comparing talent-wise, because we really wanted to get me a step-up horse, because I'm going to go to college next year. And we wanted to make sure that I have a strong show season this year and I can have her for a long time and potentially breed her. So we really wanted a mare for that instance so we can later breed her. And she's already had a foal earlier this year before we got her. So she has breeding capabilities. And we found Helen. She came from Missouri. And we went out and we tried her. We really liked her. She has a great mind. She's talented. She spins, plus run, turn around. She just was really solid. And then we came back, we thought about it, and she came back clean vet x-rays, and so we purchased her, and I think I'm really excited to work with her.
They're all quarter horses?
They are all quarter horses. Helen is actually also double registered as a paint, so she's the first one that I've had that were double registered. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is there a certain movement when you show that it just gives you so much adrenaline, or I kind of like doing turn on the haunches when I do dressage training with my horses? And
This is going to sound like a lot of cliche to the riding world, but I love when I stop or go down and stop and have an amazing stop. The rundown's fast. You have that, and it all just clicks. That there's nothing better in the world than that, because you work so hard, and trust me, you'll stop more times than you will that have that fantastic stop. But once you do, it just feels really, really good. You're proud of you and your horse. It finally clicked, because a lot of the times, and this happens to have like with my one hand, but sometimes I'll get out of balance when I stop, and so like it will mess the horse up a little bit. But when I finally do get that really good stop, it feels so good. Thankfully, I'm lucky enough to have my arm long enough where I actually can two-hand. So really, I'm really thankful my horses don't have to be modified. I've never had a horse that needed to be modified for me. I just get on just like the next person, which is really nice, because I don't want to be known as, I mean, obviously I have one hand and stuff, but I want to be more known as my ability to ride more than my ability to one hand, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But thankfully on my horses, they don't need to be modified. If I do need a two-hander and a drill outside of the pen, I can easily do that. So that's been really, really nice. So I don't have to have, because for me, I don't know about you with your situation, but for me, I get embarrassed when I have to have other people do tasks for me, because like for a long time, I couldn't put my hair up in a ponytail. Like I just could not get it. And then I always had to ask girls on my basketball team, hey, can you put my hair up? I was always so embarrassed. And then actually about a month ago, I was like, all right, we're done. We're just going to work on it until we get it. And then I finally got it. And that's the same kind of thing that I have with horses, is I didn't want to be embarrassed or have to ask people. So I really worked hard the extra length to not have my horses be modified. They're just like if you got on or my trainer got on, or just that's how I always wanted to have my horses be.
That's awesome. That actually, it's interesting that you say that, because I have my right hand is like an aid. So sometimes if I need to carry more, I can rest like a jacket or on my forearm. But things like putting up my hair has always been a struggle for me. I actually have gotten to the point where I can do a low ponytail, or if I'm laying down, I could do a high bun or something.
Yeah.
How long and what kind of modifications do you have on like an everyday basis, like brushing your teeth or
Oh my goodness. So for a long time, my ponytail was like the biggest struggle. I mean, I'm 17 and I still had to have people help me. That was just super embarrassing. But actually, a funny story, I love to tell this story and people always laugh. But when I was about 6, I started getting like lessons from the local horse trainer and stuff, and I loved them. But I had a hard time tying my shoes. I loved my Velcro shoes. I didn't want to learn. I was like, I'm just going to wear Velcro, screw it. And my dad was like, no, I know you can do it, so you're going to tie your shoes. And he's like, so you're going to learn. And I watched the videos, and I had no interest at all. I said, this is stupid. I'm just going to do Velcro. I can't do it. Why are we wasting my time? And then my dad said, well, you can either learn how to tie your shoes in a week, or we take away your horse lessons. And I learned how to tie my shoes in 3 days.
That's motivation right there. Oh my gosh.
It was.
Oh my goodness. How about, do you drive? Do you have any modifications with driving?
I do. I don't. I just, again, most of the stuff in my life is just like everybody else. I mean, it may take me longer. Like when my hands are full, opening a door kind of sucks. But driving a car, no problems. I drive just like anybody. There are certain cars that I can't drive, like the ones on the console where they have a button you have to push to shift gears. We've been trying to avoid looking for a car for me like that, just because it would be a little bit more dangerous. But other than that, there's really no other modifications.
I have a spinner knob. So
okay.
Go like that. I didn't know if that was something similar.
No, honestly, what I do is I kind of do a spinner knob without it. I just kind of take my hand and just do it that way, because I drive a big truck that doesn't have very good turn radius, so I have to make sure make sure I don't hit anything. But I guess I kind of have a spinner knob. It's not there, but I kind of use the same motion as like
the same motion. Yeah. I see a lot of these people that have one hand, such as Bethany Hamilton, the one-handed surfer.
Yep.
Lizzie Traband, she's another show jumper. Nothing seems to stop you or me, or I just think that there's a level of discipline that is heightened, but I admire the discipline and the dedication and the mindset, like the positive outlook that you have specifically. It's just so inspiring.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I actually showed my dad your jumpy videos because I was like, oh, hey, Dad, I got the Zoom call tomorrow with this really cool girl. She's actually sort of like me, but paralyzed. And he said, man, that girl does more than what you can do. Meaning just, I couldn't imagine show jumping with one hand, but I just wanted to say that because I didn't get a chance earlier.
But he was actually broke Western. He's an appendix gelding. I didn't need the two hands that a lot of show jumpers, show jumping horses require. And so me and him got around in a course, like with me neck reining and he's super fast. So the tight turns, if I was turning to the right, he would like pick up my signal right away. And that's one of the things that I love about Western horses, Western broke horses.
Yeah, and what's actually kind of nice about reining is to show reining, when you go into that pen, you have to have one hand. If you two-hand at all, you're disqualified from the event. So when I first learned that, I was like, okay, this is kind of like made for me. It's called like a developing fraternity where you can do two hands, but they're like super young horses, but you have to go in that pen one-handed, and if you two-hand, you're disqualified. So when I first learned that, I said, man, this is the sport for me. Like,
did you have any setbacks?
Oh man, I could have a whole book of them. There's been a lot of times where I've just wanted to give up, or I felt that, what am I doing? Like, I have one hand, I shouldn't be doing this. And even when I was playing basketball on my high school team, and I was like, man, this just doesn't seem, there's been a lot, and more of it's mental. Like, I get really down on myself mentally. And I saw, like, on a YouTube video of yours, that you said that you get mentally frustrated with yourself really easily. And I'm kind of the same way, because I kind of have this huge chip on my shoulder, like the whole world is expecting me just to kind of just be okay. Like, I have one hand and I'm just going to look for excuses of not to do stuff. So I always have a huge chip on my shoulder of, man, I really got to make this work. And sometimes I expect way, way, way too much out of myself too soon. And that's where I get really frustrated. So I think mostly the setbacks come within me saying, like, I should be at a professional riding horse level when I'm only here, but in reality I've only been riding so many years. So that, I think my biggest setbacks is what I am placed on myself.
That's why I wanted to kind of do this series as well, because whatever problems that we have internally or physically or mentally, I wanted to show people that even if you have one arm, even if you have been abused in your life, like, people can rise above it.
Funny kind of thing, a few years ago at the Quarter Horse Congress held in Columbus, Ohio, I met a little boy who was just like me. He was so cute, he loved horses, and he was just like me. And when I was his age, I knew no one like me, like, at all. I thought I was just some weird 1 in a billion chance, and that's not true at all. So I guess I would say that there are people out there like you and that are doing amazing things, and you can do literally whatever you want. I have a friend who has one hand and she models. She's been in Netflix documentaries and TV shows. And take Amberly Snyder, for example. She's a barrel racer who also got paralyzed in a car accident, and she's practically famous. She's verified on Instagram, so in that day and age, that means you're famous. But no, just know that there are people out like you, and that I imagine even if you wanted to reach out with them, they will help. And that's what I kind of wish I knew when I was younger, that there are people like me and that you can do literally anything you want. I mean, I wasn't sure when I was younger if I'd have a successful life because I had one hand. I didn't know anyone like me. I was very like, oh man, what life am I going to have? but seeing successful people out there, it really empowers people.
I was so inspired by Bethany Hamilton. And you think that you need two hands to push you up on the board, but she figured out a way to do it with one. And that didn't stop her. She's still racing in the rip curl finals. And it's about the mindset, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally your attitude for afterwards. And I think that when people watch you, when people watch me, I think that it really says something about how positivity can impact you.
The more positive you think, the more positive outcomes will come. It is true. It took me a long time to realize it, but it is true. For short term, I guess, for next year, I'd love to win a derby somewhere on my mare Helen. And for those who aren't new to reining or don't know much, a derby is horses from 4 to 7. And they're specifically aged events, and you get a lot of there's so many talented derby horses out there. And that's why we bought Helen, is because she's in that derby age, and I would love to go out there, lay down a fantastic run and win a derby. I have not done that so far, but that's a huge goal for me for next year. And then overall, I just want to become really the best rider I can be. I'm going to go to the University of Findlay next year, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they have a huge equine program. I get to ride horses every day, learn, and they have a huge barn. They have 2 full indoor arenas. They have like 400 stalls. I'm very excited to learn from that program. There's been a lot of reiners that went through that program who are now leading very successful professional careers. And that's kind of the path that I would like to go as a professional. People always say, well, you should go into something completely different. Horses is not the way to go. And I don't know. I understand where they're coming from completely. I mean, yeah, you're not going to become a bajillionaire doing horses, but it's something I've always loved, and that would be a huge goal for mine, is to become a professional horse trainer. And I actually wrote an essay about this yesterday, but I've never met a one-handed horse trainer, and doing something as physically demanding as horses and making a career out of it, think how many people are going to be like, wow, that kid's really rocking it. And that's what my main goal in life is, to inspire as many people as I can, that you don't have to settle for a life just because you have one hand, or like you said, you're abused, so that means you have to lead a life a certain way. You can do basically whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Defying the odds.
I love watching motivational videos. It just really kind of mentally helps me a bit.
Yeah.
But I would love to do that. I would love to stand in front of others and share my story. That's something, if I get the opportunity, I would jump 100% on.
Mm-hmm.
I would really love to do that. I'm still 17, so I don't know what's really out there for that and how to get connected. But if I do have the chance, I would love to do that.
Your blogs are like amazing, first of all.
Thank you.
Topics just resonate with me so much, and there's successes in everything. Let's talk about that, because that is just
that
fantastic.
is something that thank you. I love to write, and that's what really got me inspired to do that. Is I love to write. I love to write down my thoughts and feelings, and I thought, because I was thinking of doing a YouTube video. I actually recorded one and never posted it because I'm not that comfortable. Just like with you, it's different. We're having like a conversation, but like just talking to a camera with no response, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. But so I love to write, so I started that. And success isn't everything. I've struggled with this so much. For such a long time, I've watched my peers go out, be successful, win everything. And I sat in the background and I was like, wow, I want to be just like them. And then I finally got to win my event, and that was really big for me. Kind of my breakthrough moment. But then I took a step back and realized, well, even though I didn't win, I learned so much every time. I grew my love of horses, and success is amazing. That's all we all strive for. But there's so much more that goes into that than just winning a paycheck or winning a plaque or getting 100 likes on Instagram. It's just, there's so much more to that. And I think a lot of people forget.
Jumpers, you can have the worst round but be the fastest horse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you have the nicest round, you can, get 17th place. I mean, I know there's no ribbon for that, but how would you define success?
Success for me personally, because everyone has a different level of success. Their success might even be, I know people that they think of as success is that they wake up every morning, that they live life, that they have a smile on their face. And I think success is so personalized. I don't think there should be really a definition for it. Like your success may be having that perfect jumping round, like no penalties, no, and mine might be getting that 72 consistent run and reining. And I think success is just so personalized that it's so hard to define it, because everyone is dealing with their own demons, their own issues, their own goals, that even if you do want to, if you are that little girl that you just want to go out and beat everyone and that is your success, that's great. But I would also take a step back and say, okay, personal goals, like I would really just want me and my horse to have that really great connection during that run. Or that's what I also really like about reining. And also I think show jumping is like this a lot too, is it's you and your horse out there in that arena. There's not 50 other horses out there. You're not competing to see if your show jacket is as pretty as the next girl's. No offense to Western Pleasure, but I never really liked it for that reason. Where reining is just you and your horse out there, your connection, your all your hours of hard work put together. But going back to the success, everyone is so personalized that I don't think there really should be one exact definition.
Yeah. And that's so funny because I was gonna bring up the other blog post that you did. It's just you and your horse. I used to be a singer, and every time I would get on stage, I would get so nervous to the point where it would affect my voice. Like all my hard work and effort going into vocal warm-ups and practicing at home, it didn't show. And I think that, I have anxieties in before the show ring, like show morning, I get like so pumped. And then as soon as I'm in the warm-up ring, as soon as we start to trot, as soon as we start to do warm-up jumps, and as soon as that buzzer goes off for your round to start, it's just you and your teammate. And I think that is so incredibly cool because, as long as you have that one person, that one teammate with you, it's like you're never alone. I see on Instagram that you have amazing followers.
To me, that's like insane. Like I'm almost at 7,000, which I know isn't like crazy big. And I'm not looking to just have a number, but just like the amount of support I have is crazy. I just started the account because on my personal account, it's all my school friends, and they're like, well, I don't care about horses. So I was like, okay, why don't I just create a different account that is just for my horses? And then it just started growing and growing, and almost 2 years later it's at 7,000, and I never would have thought that. I thought maybe like just my close friends or whatever would follow and that would be that. But I'm really grateful for all the support. I've met so many wonderful people that are so nice that I've never even met in person yet, but are just so wonderful, and I can't thank all of them enough.
Oh my gosh. I think social media, I think this is the positive aspect of social media because the word can get out there. Your message can be seen from people across the country, globe. You have such a tremendous outlook on your riding journey, and it's just incredible to have people on social media kind of follow that. I think one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, which I think you mentioned in a social media post or one of your blogs, is that we have the capability and we have the ability to interact and communicate on such an intimate level with different creatures. And yeah, so talk to me about your perspective on that, because I could talk about this all day.
So like, especially with reining horses, when you get on a good reining horse, they're locked in, they're really they're listening to you 100%, and it's just amazing to me that you have these over 1,000-pound animals underneath you, and you can control, especially with reining, just a bit in their mouth. And when you really spend the long hours and you really get to bond with a horse, I think that bond is really what makes the professionals the best. When they spend those long hours, they get that connection with that horse, they get that horse to give everything that they can. I mean, in the reining world, who would have thought that a horse would stop 30 feet and turn super big just off a tip of a rein? And that really always really impressed me that you can get such a bond out of the horse and they'll give you their heart in the world. I would just say that no matter what is thrown at you, there's always a way you can do it. For me personally, like I've actually been featured in the American Quarter Horse magazine before, and that was really, really cool to me because that really got my like name out there. But I would just say that if you really want to learn something from me, if you want to take me as your role model or however you want to do that, I would just say there's really nothing that is impossible. You can do really whatever you want. And to always have a smile on your face, which I struggle with a lot. There's definitely, that's one of my big things. But I would just say that anything is possible. You can do anything. The world should not define who you are.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so glad I got to talk to you.
Yeah, again, I'm so honored that you decided to choose me as your thing. I was like, wait, no way, me?
Yeah, I'm just, it's something that's like, I don't know, I feel like I have a platform, you have a platform, but I, want to just like spread positivity. And it's not to say that there is negativity in the horseback riding world by any means. I'm not saying that at all, but I think it's an opportunity that people can go through. And I feel like if someone that doesn't have a disability or doesn't have one hand, they themselves have their own story. So this
They
is
do.
this is the whole purpose. And I think that it'll get people to think about how they can affect people in a positive way.
Because everyone has their own stories. And
Listen, like, thank you for saying yes.
no.
You're kind of the first Western person I've ever met. I mean, I've only been in the horse world for 3 years now, but
Well, I hope I made a good impression on the Western world.
and you're such a fluid, natural speaker. And,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, Alexis, it was so nice
No.
to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, yes, you were so friendly and welcoming, which really helps. So no, thank you. Sometimes I do get nervous talking about my story, but you made it easy.
Oh, thanks. I like tried my best because this is the first run, and like the lights, I need like ring lights or something, because if I'm going to start YouTube and everything, I need like natural lighting. So this is, so I didn't know how the questions were going to like go, or, if I was going to stutter or anything. Like the only thing that kept me like level-headed was the fact that I can edit. So like, thank you for being the first person. Kind of consider you a friend, like if that doesn't like weird or whatever.
No, I consider you a friend as well.
I just feel like you are just so natural and so friendly, and again, like your message is just so incredible.